Hey, what is up everyone? Hope you're all having a wonderful time. Here a quick guide for the Smite Thunder God Paladin in last Epoch. The Smite Thunder God Paladin is a really strong in-game build that is built around a couple of different uniques to make us deal tons of damage with the Smite skill. And at the same time this will also heal us if we are standing in the Smite area. By using the unique Amulet Devotion, we gain 1 flat spell damage with Smite per 5 of our missing mana. And this means that we can scale the damage pretty high, and at the moment I got around 800 for this character, which will be equal to 160 flat spell damage, as long as we stay at 0 mana. And this is possible to scale even higher. With some mid-maxing you can reach upwards 1300 mana or so. To proc the Smite skill we're using Multistrike, which will always cost 0 mana, so we can safely use it even when we are at negative mana. It's also really nice as the skill will also auto-target enemies for us. How it works is, for each melee hit the skill gets a armament stack which will spawn an additional sword that will strike a nearby enemy, and all those swords are now also being replaced by the skill Smite, by using the Hollow Arsenal passive in the Multistrike passive skill tree. As the armaments only hit a nearby enemy, the playstyle can be a bit weird to get used to for a single target. You have to use the skill a bit away from the target to strike them. By using the unique sword Aurelis, make it so we can cast Smite when we're using Multistrike and hit a boss or rare enemy. This makes it so we don't have to worry about hitting them nearby, at least for rares and bosses, and this makes it so we can basically face tag any boss as we get so much healing from the Smite skill as well. By getting the Grand Hunger of the Void Blessing also about a tons for survivability, especially for range enemies, as we get a percentage of spell damage leashed as health, which works great for the Smite skill. As we already get so much flat spell damage from the amulet, we can also equip a Mad Alchemist Ladle as our second weapon for a huge spell damage multiplier. And how this works is that we get 8% more spell damage per negative ailment on the target. And as an example, all damage elements like Ignite or Bleed, but also elements like Slow, Armor Shred and any other elemental resist Shred works fine. At the moment I got 8 different kinds of a total of 64% more damage multiplier here. And there are quite a bit of negative elements in the game, as you can see here, and a good source for this build is getting some of them from your blessings, but for a cost of your defense, as you're turning out stuff like resist and armor. So how the build works is that we're basically running around most of the time and using Lunge for some faster mobility. And this also triggers the Smite skill up to 3 nearby enemies if you travel 10 or more meters to help out with some clear. And this is also something that you have to get used to, as most of the time we are on negative mana, which makes it so we can't use the Launch skill. But with the Time and Faith passive from the base Sentinel passive tree, we gain 25 health and 10 mana whenever we are using Multistrike skill. And this will generate ourselves to possible mana, and then you can use the Launch skill. And this also doesn't have to hit an enemy either for us to get the health and mana, so really great. Other than that, we're also using Holy Aura and Sigil of Hope to boost this character even further. The Holy Aura we get from being the Paladin class, which will grant ourselves a lot of increased damage, and also resist, which will also be doubled once we use the skill. And the Sigil of Hope mostly for damage, but for some defense here as well. And the Sigil of Hope also works really great to force down our mana once it's full, so we can take full advantage of the damage we get from our amulet. As an optional setup, you can switch out the Mad Alchemist Ladle for a shield if you want to go for a more defense route, as it's quite easy to get block cap as a Paladin, and we also get 46 flat spell damage here while wielding a shield, so we don't lose too much damage from changing to a shield. You will have to spec a bit different in the passive tree for this, and don't forget to pick up those extra block chance nodes around all the class passive trees. For some pros, got great damage for both single target and also AoE, healing from both the Smite skill and combining with also the spell damage leashed from the blessing. The build works both for a melee and also for a ranged playstyle. For some cons, the playstyle can get a while to get used to, as you have to strike nearby a non-rare or boss enemy to hit them. Range enemies can be very annoying, getting stunned, especially in bigger mob packs, as the main defense is the heal from the Smite, and the good thing that we get a decent portion of stun avoidance from the unflinching passive from Force Guard passive tree. For the uniques, let's start with the most important one, Devotion. And this is how we get most of our damage, as we get +1 spell damage with Smite per 5 missing mana. We also get 1% increased cast speed with Smite per 2 missing mana, but we're not casting Smite ourselves, so this doesn't matter too much to us. We also get some endurance here, healing effectiveness, lightning damage, and also lightning penetration. Next is Aurelius, and this will trigger Smite if we use Multistrike and hit a boss or rare enemy, and also make it so we can basically just face tank while we are in a boss fight. We get plus flat lightning damage with spells and melee attacks, plus the level of Multistrike and also the Smite skill, and an extra chance to electrify on melee hit with lightning penetration with Electrify. For our second weapon, we're using Mad Alchemist's Ladle, and this works as a huge boost for our damage with its unique modifier, 8% more spell damage per negative ailment on the target. And from the wand we get chance to slow, Freighty, Armor Shred, Electrify and also Poison on spell hit. So we do get 5 of those negative ailments here from the wand itself. We also get 1% increased cast speed per 2 intelligence and 1 mana gain on potion use per 4 intelligence, but we don't really care about those for this build. The last item is called Swaddling of the Erased and is a Weaver's Will unique. From this we get plus to all attributes, attack and cast speed, and also more spell damage to low health enemies and more melee damage to high health enemies. As this is a Weaver Will unique, the rest of the stats will be random for each person. But the one to look out for this is going to be the increased melee attack speed and also some flat mana. And if you don't have any of those, go for just a normal one, works just as great. Other than that, try to go for health or also increased leech rate. For some stats for this build, try to go for health, resist, critical strike avoidance for the cap, flat mana, attunement, increased attack speed, increased lightning, elemental and spell damage, increased critical strike chance and the multiplier, and any source of any negative ailment. And for the class specific stats, try to go for increased mana and also plus the level of Smite. And for the idols, you want to go for 4 large idols with increased damage with Vengeance and Smite. And for the suffix, here you want to go for either health for some defense, or you can also go for chance to shred armor on melee hit for the boss damage. Some of the more noticeable blessings is going to be from the Black Sun, and here you want to go for the spell damage leached as health, ending the storm, chance to shred lightning resist on hit. Reign of Dragon, you can go for 20% to all resistant or the critical strike avoidance for the easy cap, or you can also go for chance to shred poison resist on hit for the extra ailment. The Age of Winter for the increased armor, and here you can also go for chance to shred cold resist on hit or also frostbite for the extra ailment. Spirit of Fire for the flat armor, or you can also go for chance to shred fire or necrotic resistant on hit for that extra ailment. And let's go over quickly the most important notes for the skills, starting with Multistrike. So Multistrike is going to be our melee attack, which will then proc the Smite skill for us. Hallowed Arsenal is going to be the one that makes our swords from the Multistrike skill change to Smite. And Flanking Strike makes it so when we have 0 stacks of armament, we have an additional sword when we're using Multistrike, as if you have 1 stack. And this is going to be the one that makes so the Smite skill will proc even though we don't have any stacks on us. Perfect Steel for 1 additional armament. Doctrine of the Anvil, so we can have 1 additional stack for our armament. Relentless Advance for increased attack speed for Multistrike. Sweeping Blows makes it so the swords or the Smite skill now can strike enemies further away. Blade Storm makes so Multistrike consumes mana per stack of armament, great for us to force down our mana for more damage from the amulet. This will also make it so we refresh our stacks of armament on us, and also make it so we can have 1 additional sword. The next skill is going to be Smite, which is our main damage ability. Order of Lagan makes so the skill now transform to a lightning base. Sacrifice for the huge damage multiplier for the skill. Attunement makes so we don't sacrifice any of our health when we are casting the skill. Deep Impact for the critical strike multiplier. Conviction for the base critical strike chance. And Holy Wave makes it so the Smite heal in a larger area. Holy Aura makes so ourselves and nearby enemies gave a 30% increased damage and 15% elemental resistance, and also with all other buffs that we gain from the passive here, and this will also double when we're using the skill. Fanatism for the attack speed and cost speed. True Strike for the increased critical strike chance. Extreme Sigil for the critical multiplier. Shadow from the Storm for additional elemental resist and endurance. Purification for some extra poison resist, and also makes us cleanse ailments when we are using Holy Aura. Sigil of Hope, another way to boost our character with damage and defense, and also to force down our mana. Exigence makes so the skill now is instant cast, but with the increased mana cost. Last Wish makes so we have a chance to summon a Sigil when we kill an enemy, great for the quality of life. And Permanent Sigil just makes so we get some increased damage here per active Sigil. Enduring Hope for some increased duration of the sigils, and Tetragram for 1 maximum sigil. Meditation makes it so we get double health regen from the sigils, and this only works if you are going solo. Just remove this if you are playing in a party. Last skill is going to be Lunge, and this works as our mobility skill. Unstoppable makes us invulnerable to damage while we are launching. Holy Incursion makes so we cast the Smite skill up to 3 nearby enemies. To proc this, we have to travel at least 10 meters. Call of the Wake for some kill threshold here, 15%. Warriors Renewal makes it so we reduce launch remainder cooldown by 8% when we use a different melee attack and hit at least 1 enemy. And here a quick preview of the passive skill tree, but for more information about the build, I do recommend you go and check out the last Epoch build planner. Both for the passives and the skills, you can simply use the progression bar at the bottom to easily see when and where to progress in the build. To the top of the build planner, you can also go to loot filters, where you can find my ultimate loot filter with a lot of options depending on how strict you want it to be. Link for this will be in the description. So what do you think about the Smite Thunder God Paladin? Have you tried it out before or tried another version of it? Feel free to tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. If you want to support the channel even further, you can check out my Patreon for behind the scene footage, virtual hangouts and more. If you got any other questions, feel free to drop a comment and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!